Well, this is something different. Typically, I speak with country artists. So when I got this request, I thought it was really cool to branch out and learn more about you guys and share with my audience as well. You guys have been really busy lately. I know you guys did this concert at the Phoenix. And for my audience that isn't aware, you guys are like the staple of 1980s much music. Personally, I wasn't around, but if it's anything like 90s in the early millennium, it's definitely a vibe that Gen Zers are totally missing out on experiencing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always shocked by the amount of young people that show up at our concerts. It's like, what, did your parents drag you to this thing? Or it's like, no, no. I just love the 80s vibe.
Yeah, I actually went to a festival this past week and Kim Mitchell was playing. I was really surprised as to not only just the younger people that were there, but that they were singing along and knew everything and were just as hyped as the older generation.
It's fascinating, and I'm very thankful for it.
Absolutely. Before we get into it, I want to give a toast. I'm having some fresh wine, which is out of Niagara. What are you having today?
Well, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm having my favorite sparkling BC water.
Cheers to Strange Advance making a comeback.
Cheers.
It's been 42 years since your breakout album Worlds Away, which earned a Juno nomination for Most Promising Group of the Year in 1983. So to have that feedback right away, what was that like getting the real pat on the back that, you're onto something good here?
We weren't used to the whole scene, having a record label on your side, new to us. And our egos were maybe a little inflated. And it wasn't until we put out our second album that we were signed to Capitol Records LA. And I got a call from a friend of mine after the second album came out. Oh, I just bought your new record. Isn't that cool? 3 days after it was released. Yeah, I bought it from the delete bin. It's like, huh? We've been deleted 3 days after, releasing this stupid thing. So that kind of brought us down to earth. But fortunately, we were still loved by the Canadian company.
Yeah, and even these days with record labels, you never know. There's been so much changes, and like with myself getting into the industry and seeing with artists when they get signed, when they get dropped, and what way they're navigating things, it's all really different right now, and a lot can be done just as an indie artist as well.
Whole new world right now.
Taking it back, your first professional job, actually, I read, was when you were 14 years old playing drums with your dad's band. That must have
Yeah,
kept you out of trouble
ASAP.
as a teenager.
No, it just gave me money to fund all the trouble. Uh, yeah, so it was great having a chance to go out there with my dad and learn. But the music was so boring to me. My dad specialized in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, So he played big band music in Glasgow, when he was a young man. But in later years, my dad lost his drummer. And I said, well, then what about me? I'll jump back in the seat. So I got to finish off my dad's career. He played till he was 93.
Wow.
And this time I loved the music. I had no idea the influence that this music had on me over all those years.
And I guess you learned a lot from that, which helped you start Strange Advance.
Yeah, absolutely. It really helped a lot. I was the drummer in the Baysiders. I was the only person with a microphone. So I kind of got to control the gig and get things organized. It sort of gave me some tips on crowd control. There was no danger of them getting out of control, though, just as they were all in their mid to late 80s.
1995 was the release of Worlds Away and Back. And then there was a break for many years. What happened?
Well, what happened was we were signed to a record label that was prepared to put out our fourth record. We weren't keen on this record label and we wanted out. So we fought as hard as we could at a time period when bands were dying for record deals. And we had like a big ass budget record deal that we were trying to get out of. We spent a couple years divesting ourselves of that situation. And then our friends Nirvana showed up with their Teen It Smells Like Teen Spirit. And the whole music biz changed overnight.
Yeah.
It was like that chapter was done. The 80s were over. We just felt like, okay, our time in the sun has faded. And it wasn't until like maybe 10, 15 years ago that there's been this big resurgence of interest in the 80s. Our fans have grown up, the kids have moved out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just thinking in reflection to country music as well. I had mentioned a couple weeks ago, Brooks and Dunn. They were big in the 80s and 90s, and they just won an award at the American Country Music Awards for Best Duo. And they're going up against all these young guys, and it's so cool to see. And genres are changing. The younger artists are starting to sing and perform and get their spunk and spirit from the older generations.
I think country music is kinder to older acts.
Probably true. So you also have been working with musicians, taking them under your wing. What's an important piece of advice that every young aspiring artist needs to hear?
It's originality. That sadly, a lot of acts listen to the radio. It's like, okay, well, that's what's happening right now, so that's what I should write. And I think, well, that's a wasted opportunity. I think that the people that actually break through and to have some longevity in their careers are the people that are true to their original selves. They do what they feel they want to do. Be original. Be yourself. Be true to yourself.
Great advice. So you did your performance last year, and I heard that that's what prompted this show at the Phoenix. You also have a show booked for Saskatchewan. Could this possibly trickle into even more shows being added?
Because we're just newly on the scene. We're just getting promoters used to us right now. As we do these different shows for different promoters, then if he likes us and we do well, then we'll probably get added to some other day.
You're up for it. Your game. Ready to rock and roll.
Sure.
How about working on some new music?
All the time. It comes out whether I want it to or not on a daily basis. Now it's just a case of finding that little space or time to actually get them finished.
Congratulations for coming back in the scene and kicking butt.
Back in like the good old BC water.